Haribol, Haribol. Day 4 of our Navadvipa parikrama, 23rd March, Saturday, 2024. And we're going to go to Samudra, Champahati, Vidyanaga and Radhakund. So 4 ecstatic places to visit today. And we'll see how we go. So we'll sing Radhakund Tata Kunja Kutira. We'll sing this bhajan first. Radhakunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata Yamuna Tira Radhakunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata
Yamuna Tira
Radhakunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata Yamuna Tira Radhakunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana
Parvata Yamuna Tira
Kusuma Sarovara Manasa Ganga Kusuma Sarovara Manasa Ganga Kusuma Sarovara Manasa Ganga Kusuma Sarovara Manasa Ganga Kalinda Nandini Vipula Taranga Kalinda Nandini Vipula Taranga Vamsi Vata Gokula Dira Samira
Vamsi Vata Gokula
Dira Samira Vrindavana Taru Latika Vanira Vrindavana Taru Latika Vanira Kaga Mriga Kula Malaya Vatasa 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 Mayura Brahmara Murali Vilasa Mayura Brahmara Murali Vilasa Venu Shringapada Chinna Megamala
Venu Shringapada
Chinna Megamala Venu Shringapada Chinna Megamala
Venu Shringapada Chinna Megamala
Vashanta Shashanka Shankataratala Vasanta Shashanka Shankataratala Yugala Vilase Anukula Jani
Yugala Vilase Anukula Jani
Yugala Vilase Anukula Jani
Yugala Vilase Anukula Jani
Leela Vilasa Udipakamani Leela Vilasa Udipakamani सब छोड़त कहीं नहीं जाओ
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 सब छोड़त पर न हराओ
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 भक्ति विनोदा कहे सुन खाना
भक्ति विनोदा कहे सुन गाना
भक्ति विनोदा कहे सुन खाना
भक्ति विनोदा कहे सुन गाना
तू आओ दीपक हमारा पराना
तू आओ दीपक हमारा प्राण
तू आओ दीपक हमारा पराना
तू आओ दीपक हमारा प्राण
राधाकुंड तथा कुंजा कुटीरा गोवर्धन पर्वत यमुना तीरा
राधाकुंड तथा
कुंजा कुटीरा
गोवर्धन पर्वत यमुना तीरा
जय राधाकुंड जय गोवर्धन जय राधाकुंड गिरि गोवर्धन
जय राधाकुंड जय गिरि राधाकुंड गिरि
जय राधाकुंड जय गोवर्धन राधाकुंड जय गोवर्धन
जय राधाकुंड जय गोवर्धन राधाकुंड जय गोवर्धन
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
जय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल गौर हरि बोल
जय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल जय गौर हरि बोल
जय नित्यानंद राय जय नित्यानंद राय नित्यानंद राय जय नित्यानंद राय
जय नित्यानंद राय जय नित्यानंद राय नित्यानंद राय जय नित्यानंद राय
नित्यानंद Nitai He, Nitai He, Nitai He, oh Nitai He.
Nitai He, Nitai He, Nitai He, Nitai He.
Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hare, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hare.
Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari.
Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He.
Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He.
Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe.
Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe.
Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe.
Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe.
Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Radhe.
Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe.
Jaya Radha Vinod Bihari Radha Vinod Bihari Radhe.
Jaya Radha Vinod Bihari Radha Vinod Bihari Radhe.
Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe.
O Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhabika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai Shri Radha Gopinath Ju Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaurikishoras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Varantaracharya Ki Jai Jai Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhata Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haras Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sigaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Antadweep Mayapur Simantadweep Gautamdweep Madhyadweep Koladweep Ritudweep Janadweep Motamdweep Rudradweep Atmaka Navadweep Dham Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopiko Govardhan Dwarasavad Matmika Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai Shri Radhakund Shamakund Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shri Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai Ketra Mandal Ki Jai Sarva Vigna Vinashakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Charidam Ki Jai Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai Chari Acharya Ki Jai Akara Mat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagat Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gauda Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Agnati Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Sarupe, Dayata Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajabi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhuika Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe, Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuranavartino Kalo, Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata Sundarata Dikatamba Sadipita, Sadahradare Kandare Sparatu Vasachinandanaha, Yam Prabhajantamanapetyamapetya Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava, Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Vinirustam Sarvabhutam Munim Ridimunatoshmi. Bhaktya Vihina Aparara Lakshay Shiptascha Karmarita Rangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanaravindam Vajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Rate Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And again, I'm offering my millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gauda Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate, and to all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanshakalpa Turupyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. So today we've reached the fourth day of our parikrama, and we go for a very beautiful walk today. And today, by great fortune, was a sunny day, which is a change for the week that we've had of our Gautani Parikrama. And we walk from our Keshavji Gaudiya Math, if that's where you're lodged, and we um, go up onto the highway and then across the railway crossing, and then on the road to um, Kalna, and we take the left, and we walk there for about 5-6 kilometers, something like that, I think. And we have to avoid the buses and the trucks that are pounding down. But because of the size of our parikrama party, we stretch right across the road usually. So we're sort of safe in numbers. And we proceed past the backside of Radhakund. And traditionally, we always used to stop there because there's a very large playing field on the left-hand side of the road. And on the right side of the road, just behind the houses further in, is the backside of Radhakund. But today we're going to circumambulate around and we'll come into the backside of Radhakund after Vidyanaga. So generally we stop at this place and we have Harikatha about Radhakund. And then when we circumambulate around again, we have a second Harikatha about Radhakund. But today we're just going to go straight past this front side of Radhakund or back side of Radhakund and go straight towards Samudraga. And on the way to Samudraga, when we get to the village, um, on our right, we're going to go past Champahati. We're going to go to Samudraga and then we're going to stay there for some time and then we're going to come back to Champahati. So we've arrived now at Samudraga. Samudra means the ocean. It's where actually the ocean came to reciprocate with Jahnavi. Jahnavi is a name of Gangamata. So Gangamata was um, the ocean rather was wanting to have darshan of Sachinandan Gaurahari. So the ocean came up and through Janavamata. So and to touch Navadvipa Dhama. And at this beautiful pastime stali, we traditionally used to have a big debate. It was always very exciting with my Gurudev and Srila Turikrama. You were there when they would um, counter each other because there's a beautiful pastime here that King Samudra Sen, he was a great devotee. He was a very great devotee. And he was very anxious to see Krishna. He wanted to have darshan. Actually, ultimately, he wanted darshan of Sachinandan Gaurahari, but he wanted darshan initially of Brajendranandan Shamsundar Krishna. And Bhimsen was out with the sacrificial horse. And as we know in the in the Yagya, Rajasuya Yagya, then the horse was roaming in front. And anyone who checked the horse, they would have to do battle with the army behind them. And the horse was roaming all over India in order to establish the rulership of Yudhisthira Maharaj. So there was Bhimsen, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev. They were going north, east, south, and west. And here to the um, east came Bhimsen. Bhimsen was following the horse in the east. And the horse came here. And because of Samudra Sen's extreme desire to see, Krishna knew that if Bhimsen became really stressed in the battle, that he must call out for Krishna in hopes that Krishna would rescue his dear parikrama. So this is actually what happened. Samudra Sen came out and he fought so enthusiastically, and all his army were empowered behind him, and they were fighting so powerfully that Bhimsen became worried, became anxious that they were going to be overpowered. And in his anxiety, he started to pray diligently to Krishna to make some arrangement so that he could not go back shamefaced to the Rajasuya sacrifice and say that he'd been defeated. This would have been most shameful. So Krishna, he manifests on that battlefield, but it was only to Samudra Sen saw him. And Samudra Sen, when he had darshan, a beautiful monsoon-colored Krishna, and his beautiful yellow pitamba and dhoti, he became, and his beautiful garland, Vaijanti garland around his neck, looking just so resplendent, and having darshan directly of Pranatan Shamsunda. And then he awoke from his faint, and he was offering many prayers to Krishna at that time. But he was praying to Krishna, still my desire is not completely fulfilled. I wish to see your form as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He knew about the form of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He'd heard from the rishis and sages that in time Mahaprabhu would be performing his pastimes here. So this was 5,000 years ago. This took place when Bhimsen was on the planet with Krishna. So transforms in front of Samudra Sen into Gauranga Mahaprabhu and begins dancing ecstatically with a huge kirtan party behind. And Samudra Sen becomes totally intoxicated with ecstasy and again faints and falls to the ground. And what's going on? Because all the soldiers on the opposing battlefield have stopped fighting because they're all watching their king. They're not knowing what he's doing, but he stopped commanding them, so they've all stopped. So Bhimsen is wondering what's happening. Then, when Samudra Sen comes out of his trance, and at that time Mahaprabhu vanishes, disappears, and then Sen he immediately puts down his weapons and acknowledges defeat by Bhimsen and gives him the levy, the to allow him to come supremacy of Yudhisthira. And Bhimsen doesn't really know anything about this, but this is recorded by just saying he had darshan. But always here, traditionally, Srila Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikram, he would take the side, I think, of Bhimsen, of Krishna, but is an eternal Nityasiddha Parikara of Krishna. And those who support form of Krishna, because of his um, energetic enthusiasm, Krishna manifested. So I think the same, but I can't remember. I can be wrong on this. Someone has to correct me. I'm not sure which side he, but there were these two sides which had arguments, and Srila Trivikram would give more arguments, and then devotees would join Srila Trivikramaji's. They would give arguments, and then my Gurudev would say more. And we would go on like this, sometimes for an hour. I can remember when we first did this, and it was really quite heated between them. And they were really enthusiastic to establish the supreme Bhimsen, because he's an Siddha Parikar. And Srila Trivikaram was supporting, someone wants to tell me who was supporting who, because I can't remember. But it was a very enlivening debate, and we always remember that day. Even today, when we go there, the devotees from our Keshavji Gaudiya Math will, and they'll be offering all kinds of evidences that Bhimsen was acquiring for the devotees' bhakti. To go into commodity of devotion is what we're all trying to observe, and then we come back onto the originously, and we start walking down side as a small and we come into the beautiful garden and in Champahati traditionally there in abundance. And Brahmana, he was worshipping these dedicated, sincere devotion that he manifested in front of them. And he manifested first as Sham Sundara and Govinda Dev, and then he transformed himself into Sachinandan Gaurahari. And this Brahmana was in complete ecstasy. And then uh, um, Mahaprabhu, he he told this Brahmana, you will take part in my pastimes in Champahata when I manifest in this world in the middle of in the beginning of Kali Yuga. So, and that Brahmana was Vaninath Roy, the Vaninath, the brother of Gadadhar, the younger brother of Gadadhar Pandit. So he was there and he was worshipping Gaur Gadadhar. And those very deities were manifested by um, Mahaprabhu himself when he was on his way to Puri to take the renounced order. And he was with Gadadhar, and they stopped at the ashram. And Vaninath requested that he remain with them. So he remained in there in that those deity forms of Gaur Gadadhar, and he remains in that beautiful garden place. But this temple is now under the direction of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He um, acquired that property, and he built a beautiful Gaudiya Math there, and the worship is going on very nicely. And when we come there today, there's a huge pandal and a bit of a marketplace and so on there. But it's a very colorful, beautiful garden to reside in. And of course, the great Vaishnava poet, Jaidev Goswami, he resided there for some time under the king of Balal Sen at that time. The king was Balal Sen at that time. And with his wife Padmavati. And previously he was residing in another location, but that king begged him to come and reside here in Champahata, and he stayed there. And it was here that he wrote this Gita Govinda. And we remember the famous verse. Jaidev Goswami was in about the 9th century, a long time ago. And my Gurudev describes that his descriptions of Radha and Krishna's separation are so beautiful that they would melt the heart eventually of even Lord Jagannath. Lord Jagannath would run to hear recitation of this Gita Govinda later on in Jaipur, in Jagannath Puri. And but while Jaidev Goswami was writing his beautiful Gita Govinda, which is filled with the most beautiful ornamental writings and so on, Jaidev Goswami was one of the jewels in the court of Akbar at that time, and he was the principal poet, and he was a very mystical personality. Many mystical tales surround him, and he was writing his glorification prayers, his Gita Govinda, and he came to understand that he wanted to write that the only way to mitigate the poison of separation for Krishna was if he allowed the lotus petal-like feet of Sri Radhika to decorate his head and to offer her his flute and peacock feather. This is what he was seeing in his meditation. But because actually he's has Aishwarya Bhav, he was seeing Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. That's how he was perceiving Krishna. Mahaprabhu had not advented at this time. So therefore, this conception of parakya and of Braj Ras had not manifested. Mahaprabhu literally brings this conception with him. He brings with it the ability for the jivas to understand this, to comprehend this. He gives the holy name to purify the jivas' consciousnesses so that they can understand these topics. So Jayadeva Goswami was hesitant and he couldn't write this verse, Smaragarala Kandanam, Mama Sirasi Mandanam, Dehi Padapalavam Udaram. He couldn't write this verse himself. So he just put his pen down and told Padmavati, I'm going to the Ganga for bathing. And he left. And a few minutes later, he appeared again and asked for his book and then sat down again at the book. And then he wrote this. It was Krishna himself who manifested and wrote this verse. Smaragarala Kandanam Mama Sirasimandanam. Dehi Padapalavam Udaram. That the lotus feet of Sri Radhika are mitigating the poisonous effects of separation in the heart of Brajendrananda and Shamsundar. It was directly Krishna who wrote this because Jayadev couldn't write this. So this is very significant. Even though Jayadev was such a rasik soul and such a rasik personality, he still could not write this verse. So Krishna wrote it. So then he wrote it, then he left. And then a few minutes later, Jayadev appeared. And his wife was shocked. Why are you so quick in the Ganga? What happened? And he said, what are you talking about? And she said, you were just here a minute ago, and then you wanted to write something in your book. He said, bring me my book. And he looked in the book and saw this beautiful, elegant handwriting of Krishna directly himself. And he just went into complete ecstasy. And then he told his fortunate wife, you just had darshan of Brajendrananda and Shamsundar, and explained to her. She's a very special soul, also his wife, Padmavati. She was actually born in Jagannath Puri and then came with Jayadev Goswami. Jayadev Goswami initially didn't want to get married at all. He wanted to remain brahmachari. But Padmavati had had a vision of Jagannath directing her that she had to marry this person. And she told her father. And her father took her to the ashram, to the place where Jayadev Goswami was staying in Jagannath Puri at that time, and said, you must marry my daughter. And Jayadev was saying, no, no, no. And then her father, just left her there. And then Padmavati was weeping and weeping and weeping. And then Jayadev started talking to her. And then she revealed that actually Jagannath had told her, directed her to come here and be his wife. And then on that authority, then Jayadev accepted her as his wife. So they were together throughout the pastimes. But after he wrote this Gita Govinda, then he is directed again by the Lord to reside now in Jagannath Puri. He's directed that actually there is seva for him in Jagannath Puri. And he very hesitantly, he doesn't want to go to Jagannath Puri. He doesn't want to leave Navadvipa Dhama. He's aware of the glories of Navadvipa Dhama to some degree. And it's described how they walk away from Navadvipa Dhama and they keep looking back at the beauty of Navadvipa. But eventually he arrives in Jagannath Puri, and then he resides there for many, many years. And then it's described later on, after his departure, the Gita Govinda became very popularized. And there were many, what do they call them? These dasis. What's the name of them? These Jagannath Devi, the Devi dasis. Devi dasis, they were singing the Gita Govinda one night. And Jagannath Dev, he heard this beautiful pastime. Gita Govinda is all about Radha and Krishna staying in separate kunjas, and both of them are feeling hesitant to go and meet each other. Sri Radhika is in a state of high man, and Krishna cannot approach that high man at that particular point. So both of them are in separation moods, but they're very close to each other in proximity, but they can't actually meet each other because of this wall of Man from Sri Radhika. And it's described in one of the verses so beautifully that Radhika, even though she's in Man, she's expecting Krishna to arrive at any time in the Kunj where she's staying. And in the Kunj where she's staying, there's 4 doors coming into the Kunj, and she's not sure which door he might come in. So, in her bewildered condition, she starts to spin around, and it's described she's spinning and spinning and spinning. It's described like she's creating a net of her tears to catch Krishna when he first enters. She doesn't want to miss Krishna's first entrance into the Kunj, so she's spinning around. But he describes it so eloquently, Jaidev Goswami, in such beautiful poetic terms, like Rupa Goswami, really superlative, eloquent language. And this will melt even the stone-hearted devotees, this Gita Govinda. So Jagannath Dev, he hears this singing of the Devi Dasis, and he comes off his altar in the night, and he runs through the bushes, and he tears his cloth and scratches his form. And in the morning, when he returns, he comes back, get on the altar, and the pujari is shocked to see his clothes torn and the marks on his body. And they immediately call the king, and they have a meeting, and all the pujaris come, and they're very concerned. They cannot comprehend how this happened. And then that evening, the pujari has a dream where Jagannath Dev, he enters the dream and reveals that I was hearing that Gita Govinda, and I could not resist going to listen to how beautiful those words of Jaidev were. So Jaidev Goswami's words are appealing to Jagannath Dev. His words are so beautiful, and the language is so ornamental. And then when he revealed this in the dream to the Pujari explained to everybody. And then the king ordered that daily the Devi Dasis would come and they would chant this Gita Govinda for the happiness and pleasure of Jagannath Dev. So this happens even to this day. The Devi Dasis, they chant. And we know in the pastime of Radha and of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was residing in the Gambhir, one night he heard the Devi Dasis chanting this Gita Govinda. Mahaprabhu embraced this Gita Govinda, and he would listen to the verses of that Gita Govinda recited by Swarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda when he was in the Gambhira in his separation mood, because Mahaprabhu is tasting that viraha ras, that vipralamba, and this Gita Govinda is really accenting this vipralamba mood. And he heard the Devi Dasi singing this beautiful Gita Govinda, and he races through the forest to go and listen to this. And Govinda, his servant, he races and catches. We talked the other day. Govinda is the disciple of Ishwara Puripad, and it chases Mahaprabhu so fast with all his energy and catches Mahaprabhu and drags him to the ground and then says loudly in his ear, "It's a woman singing." And Mahaprabhu is so relieved. He said, "I would have had to have given up my life unless you had stopped me. I would have embraced that woman because the song is so intoxicating of her, what Jaidev Goswami is revealing. And Mahaprabhu was ever indebted to Govinda for this seva. So we hear the glories of this Gita Govinda. And my Gurudev has uh, manifested a beautiful commentary on this, because he knew this scripture, Gita Govinda, is going to be very much popularized. It's already popular. But he had to put the Siddhantic light onto the commentary. So he wrote this commentary himself. And we have a very beautiful version in English that we can, and Hindi, of course. So we have this available by the mercy of my beloved Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. So these are some of the pastimes of Jaidev Goswami that we hear in the place of Champahati. And all the devotees, we chant all these different bhajans there while we're there. But it's an extraordinarily beautiful place today. There's one devotee there who's living there now. I think his name is Jaidev also, a devotee there. He speaks good English, and if you go there, he will be very hospitable to you. And he speaks living there alone. Huh? Nitai. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Nitai. Nitai. Yes, beautiful person. And he knew my Gurudev very well. He would always speak on stage in front of all our assembly, and he always welcomes the devotees. But initially, he was living there totally alone. I think now there's some Sevaks there, but he's single-handedly worshipping the beautiful Gaur Gadadhar deity. The Gaur Gadadhar deity are very tall, resplendent, and beautiful. Today, beautiful darshan, flowers were decorating them, and absolutely splendid darshan that you can have today of Gaur Gadadhar. And of course, Baninath was the one who was originally worshipping these beautiful deities. So these are very sacred and special deities in our line, Gaur Gadadhar. And of course, as we know, Gaur Gadadhar were the principal deities of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He, the distinction of Gaur Gadadhar worship is that one is bhajan. If it's Gaur Nitai, this is like Achan Seva. But Gaur Gadadhar is bhajan Seva. Gaur Nitai is more external. It's preaching to the whole world, to the masses. But uh, Gaur Gadadhar is a mood of bhajan, is a mood of internal meditation on the Astakali Leela of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So there's a distinction there. So now from Champahati, we go to Vidyanaga. This is our third stop today. So we're going quite quickly along. We wind through the village and then we come into a very beautiful country road, and it's ornated with many banana trees and jackfruit trees and palm trees, etc. We're really walking through the Bengali countryside at this point, and we come into the beautiful compound of Vidyanaga. And Vidyanagar is where Gangadas had his school and where he'd teach Mahaprabhu. And so many um, um, aspects of knowledge. This is why it's called Vidyanaga. So I'm going to read something from the um, Navadvipa Dhama parikrama book. So um, um, I lost the place. Oh, here we are. It's describing that coming to Vidyanaga, Sri Nityananda Rai, because this Navadvipa Dhama parikrama book, which I'm reading from, is of course about the parikrama that the first parikrama ever in Navadvip was led by Nityananda Prabhu. Jiva Goswami there is um, receiving darshan of all of Navadvip. So coming to Vidyanaga, Sri Nityananda Rai explained to Sri Jiva its significance. At the time of Pralaya, that's the devastation, Navadvip, the eternal Dham, remains situated in its pure form as an 8-petaled lotus. All the avatars and fortunate living entities stay in one part of the lotus at that time. Matsya avatar carried the Vedas to Vidyanaga within Ritudvip. So Vidyanaga is within Ritudvip. Ritudvip means all of the seasons are manifesting simultaneously. These 6 seasons that manifest in India or in Braj and here in Goradam. That's winter, summer, was it winter, summer, spring? After spring is summer, then autumn, then the Hemanta season, and then you got the wet season and in there. Also, so let's start from the beginning. So you have the winter season, then you have the spring season, then you have the summer season, then you have the rainy season, the wet season, then you have the Hemanta season, which is half and half, and then you have the what's the final season? Huh? You're Indian. Autumn. Yes, I missed out autumn. Okay. So autumn. Okay. So autumn. All the seasons are there. So Ritudvip means the embodiment of all the seasons. And of course, in Ritudvip is the center of the whole pastime places, which is Radhakund. So this is Vidyanaga that we're describing in Ritudvip. So since the Vedas, which contain all Vidya or knowledge, were brought here, this place is therefore named Vidyanaga. When Brahma became inclined to start creation again, he glanced fearfully upon the devastated earth. At that time, the Lord bestowed his mercy on Brahma here, and Brahma began offering his prayers to the Lord. Remember when Lord Brahma first begins the creation of the earth, when Swayambhuva Manu and his wife, um, what's her name? Wife of Swayambhuva Manu? Um, oh, just slipped my mind. What is it? You don't remember. Um, Satarupa, Satarupa. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My mind grumbling, trying to catch it. Satarupa. So Swayambhuva Manu and Satarupa, they saw that Mother Earth was devastated in the ocean of devastation, and Lord Boar, he manifests and pulls the ocean, the Earth out of the ocean, out of that pralaya, and places it in its orbit where it can float in space. Krishna infuses it so it will have the ability to float. When Brahma became inclined to start creation again, he glanced fearfully upon the devastated earth. At that time, the Lord bestowed his mercy on Brahma here. As Brahma began offering his prayers to the Lord, he opened his mouth, and the beautiful Saraswati was born from his tongue. By her potency, Brahma then offered prayers to Krishna and thus obtained great happiness. At the time of creation, Maya directs the three gunas to spread throughout the material creation on the side of the Viraja river. The rishis then labor to reveal knowledge within this universe manifested by Maya. Maya is the embodiment of the material energy in this connection here. Taking shelter of this abode of Saraswati, Sarat Pita, the rishis conquer over ignorance. After having received lessons on the 64 branches of knowledge, the rishis set themselves up at various places throughout the world. But all the rishis studied their respective branches of knowledge eternally at this holy spot. So all the rishis, they spread out and they um, speak on all the different aspects of knowledge. But the origin of this knowledge is here at Vidyanaga. Vidyanaga is the origin of all knowledge. Valmiki came here and by the mercy of Narad received the Ramayana. Dhanvantari received the Ayurveda, and Vishwamitra and others received the teachings of the Dhanurveda. Sonika and other rishis recited the mantras of the Vedas, and Shiva discussed Tantra. The rishis requested Brahma produced. On the rishis' request, Brahma produced the four Vedas from his four mouths. Living here, Kapila created Sankhya philosophy, and Gautam brought forth logic and argument. Kanubuk produced the Vaishika philosophy here, and Patanjali the Yoga Sutra. Jaimini wrote the Karma Mimams Shastra here, and Vedavyas wrote the Puranas. The five rishis, headed by this is Sandhya, Upanyaya, Monjanya, Kaushik, and Bharadraj. The five rishis, headed by Narad, wrote the Pancharatra here to teach the people about practical devotional service. In this forest, the Upanishads all worshipped Gauranga for a long time. Unseen by them, Gauranga said, "Your understanding of God as formless, Nirakaha, has spoiled you all. In the form of Shruti, you do not recognize me. But when you appear as my associates on earth, you will see my pastimes with my own eyes. At that time, you will sing my glories at the top of your voices." The Shrutis became dumbfounded on hearing this. Secretly, they stayed here waiting for that time. Blessed is this Kali Yuga, when as the topmost of yugas, for in this yuga Lord Gauranga appeared. Hearing that Gauranga would perform his educational pastimes here, Brihaspati took birth as Vasudev Sarvabhauma and took great care to please the Lord. he knew that the Lord would perform pastimes as a student in Navadvip, so he became indifferent and abandoned the abode of Lord Indra, Brihaspati. He brought his associates and happily took birth on earth. Sarvabhauma made his school and taught here in Vidyanaga, but thinking that he would drown in the network of dry knowledge and lose Gauranga, he performed one pastime. Before Gauranga was born, his students behind in Nadia, he thought, if I am the servant of Gauranga, he will certainly be merciful and come to me. Thus Sarvabhauma went to Nilachal and became powerful in the knowledge of Mayavad philosophy. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was the residing priest within the township of Jagannath Puri, and Prataparudra accepted him practically as his guru, but he was speaking Mayavad philosophy. So he's Brihaspati. And actually, in the Bhagavatam, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions in the fourth canto that Brihaspati is described as being Brahman realized. So if Brihaspati is Brahman realized, then what is the realization of any of the demigods? They cannot be more than their spiritual master. So all the devas, they're all focusing on mukti, on Brahman, because we see their lack of faith many times. They're not Krishna bhaktas. They worship Vishnu. When Vishnu appears to relieve them from the warring demons, etc., and they honor him greatly, but as soon as he goes, they continue with their materialistic um, activities, etc., even though they are the greatest masters of this world. Without the Deva's support, we could not live for a single moment. So we honor the demigods tremendously. But we do know the position of their level of bhakti. Their bhakti is compromised because Brihaspati is Brahman realized. So they can't go beyond that realization of Brahman realization. And we see in the example when Indra, he comes to beg forgiveness from Krishna, piteously repenting for his trying to drown all the residents in the devastating rainfalls. Then a few weeks later, Krishna goes to Swagaloka and requests a parijat flower. And what does the repentant Indra do at that time? He fights him for it. And Vishnu, with Satyabhama, he uproots a whole tree of parijat flowers because the parijat is very sacred. It creates a incredible fragrance which will inspire completely in the consciousness liberation. Immediately, one is aware of that fragrance. So that parijat flower is very, very potent. So Indradev wanted to keep that within Swaga and not allow it to come to the earth, even though this is Vishnu requesting it. So we see what is their nishta in that example. But there are other examples also like that. So this is the position of Sarvabhauma, who is Brihaspati. But we're going to see the remarkable transformation of Sarvabhauma when he's residing in Jagannath Puri. And then we know the pastime when Mahaprabhu first enters into Puri and he sees the beautiful form of Lord Jagannath. He completely um, he runs to embrace Lord Jagannath. He feels, yes, this is the Krishna that I've been searching. Now he's in Radhabhav. Now he's been to Godavari. Now Rai Ramananda has woken up that Radha Bhav within his heart, and he's come to Jagannath Puri, and he's seeing Rajendranandan Sham Sundar on the altar there. He doesn't see Lord Jagannath. He doesn't see that master of Dwarka. He sees Rajendranandan Sham Sundar, and he runs towards him to embrace him. But then he faints before he gets there. And the guards, they see this young sannyasi, what they think he's doing. They come to beat him. But as they raise it, then Sarvabhauma, he quickly jumps in because he recognizes the symptoms of ecstatic love that are manifesting on the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then very carefully, he has him carried to his house and he very carefully tends to him. And meanwhile, Nityananda and Gadadhar and Jagadananda, the other devotees that were following, they come because Mahaprabhu had become separated. After Jagadananda allowed Nityananda to break his danda, then Mahaprabhu became very angry and said, either you go ahead of me or I'll go in front of you. And then they all requested, you go in front. So Mahaprabhu came first to Jagannath Puri. And then he's carried to the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And then when Nityananda Prabhu, he enters the temple, he also feels this tremendous um, uh, attraction to Lord Jagannath. But the guards, they reveal to him uh, what has just happened to this other effulgent sannyasi, that he's been carried to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So immediately, Nityananda, Gadadhar, Jagadananda, they go to the home of Sarvabhauma and they inform Sarvabhauma who actually he is. But Sarvabhauma doesn't actually believe that this is the Supreme Lord at all. And when Mahaprabhu comes out of his trance, then he's respecting so much Sarvabhauma, offering him all honor, etc. And then Sarvabhauma begins to instruct him in Vedanta. He says, in a young sannyasi's body, it's your duty to know Vedanta. Little does he know that he's Nimai Pandit of Nadia, who has defeated Keshav Kashmiri and so many other personalities in Nadia. But he starts, and Mahaprabhu very submissively just sits in front of him for a whole 7 days. Sarvabhauma is speaking to him. And Mahaprabhu, he listens quietly, doesn't say a word. And at the end of that time, Sarvabhauma, he says, so I've spoken so much, but you haven't answered me anything. You haven't said anything in reciprocation to what I've been saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? Have you heard what I'm saying? Do you have any questions about what I'm saying? And then Mahaprabhu says, I understand Vedanta, but the way that you're explaining it, you've completely covered the actual essential meaning of Vedanta. Sarvabhauma had never been spoken to like this in his life. And he's there with all his disciples. He becomes so outraged initially because Mahaprabhu has completely like contradicted him publicly. And then Mahaprabhu quickly goes on to completely dismantle all of the coverings that Sarvabhauma has placed over the pure Vedanta. He's placed the Mayavad conceptions over every time it's come to Krishna. He's referred to Krishna as being that individual jiva. And Mahaprabhu with Siddhanta, clear Shastra. And Sarvabhauma is so shastrically gyan. He understands what Mahaprabhu is saying, and he's completely defeated and purified of that. But he's left trembling. You can imagine an older man, and his whole life is suddenly become transformed because everything that he based his life on, his reputation, etc., on, has suddenly been taken away. So he's like empty. So Mahaprabhu is very gracious to him. And um, uh, what happened? Then Sarvabhauma, he goes back to his room, his place. But in the early morning, Sarvabhauma has a dream, I think, at that time. None of you remember. Do you remember, Bilva? No. I think he has a dream, and like Keshava Kashmiri, revealing the identity of who is Mahaprabhu. Huh? Yes, of the 6 on form. But that's after, no, when Mahaprabhu returns early in the morning, he brings a beautiful offering of Jagannath Mahaprasad. And immediately, Sarvabhauma begins to honor that Mahaprasad. And Mahaprabhu says to him, but where are your Brahminical standards? You haven't even bathed yet. You haven't cleaned yourself, and you're already taking Mahaprasad. And Sarvabhauma at that time, he says, oh, to hell with my rules and regulations and so on. But at this time, Mahaprabhu reveals his Sadbhuj form to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya witnesses that, then his heart is totally melted. But remember, this is an Aishwarya vision that Sarvabhauma is getting. This is not the Madhurya, because all of Jagannath Puri is of a Madhurya, of a Aishwarya mood. Yes, Mahaprabhu. Yes, yes, he sees that. He sees that, but still he doesn't recognize Brajendrananda and Sham Sundar. So we should appreciate this point. And then there's the beautiful, what's it called? That Sataka, those beautiful 100 verses that Sarvabhauma he recites in glorification. So he stays with Mahaprabhu for the whole duration of his Puri pastimes, his Jagannath Puri pastimes, for basically 24 years, because as soon as he arrives, he makes a connection. And then when Mahaprabhu goes traveling in India, Sarvabhauma is there, very anxious. And the king is requesting Prataparudra to Sarvabhauma, who's like his guru, to please give him darshan. And Sarvabhauma is trying to arrange, but when Mahaprabhu returns, he blocks his ears at any mention of him having connection or darshan with the king. He says, this is for a sannyasi, this is like death, and he refuses to see the king. And then all the older devotees, Paramananda Puri, etc., they all come to try and petition Mahaprabhu to soften his stance, because Prataparudra is a great devotee. And then Mahaprabhu, he says, if you keep coming to me again, I'm going to leave. Mahaprabhu is adamant. He's not going to give darshan to the king, because this is not um, in the sannyas Maryad that you should meet kings. This is because the sannyas, if he's weak sannyas, could become infected by that glorification by a king. So then Nityananda comes up with a plan. Why don't you send some of your garments to him? That will perhaps pacify him. So he does like that. But then later on, this doesn't satisfy completely Prataparudra. Then later on, in the Rathayatra festival, when Prataparudra has come and cleaned the path for Jagannath Dev with a beautiful golden broom you see today, the same king will come. The tradition will be there. Then Sarvabhauma whispers in his ear that actually he should just go into the garden. After Mahaprabhu has performed his ecstatic kirtan for so many hours in front of Jagannath Dev, he becomes exhausted and he goes into the Jagannath gardens and he just relaxes there in the gardens, lies down. And at that time, Prataparudra, disguised as just an ordinary devotee wearing simple white cloth, he comes in and begins to massage the Lord while he's singing Jayati Tedikam Janmana Braja Shrayata Indira Shashvadatrahi Daita Drishyatam Dikshutavakas Tvaitrita Shavas Tvam Vichinvate. He sings the whole Gopi Gita, and Mahaprabhu is in complete ecstasy. And Mahaprabhu, when he sings that ninth verse, Tavakatamritam, this beautiful verse, then Mahaprabhu gets up and he embraces him. He says, "Oh, Bhai, who are you? Who are you giving me so much?" And he says, "I am not even a Vaishnava. I am just trying to perform your seva like this." So Prataparudra secretly gets Mahaprabhu's mercy and embrace by that beautiful pastime. Prataparudra, a great devotee of the Lord.
Beautiful picture put up in our room.
Ah, you got that.
Prataparudras
Massaging.
massaging the feet of Lord.
Very nice. Beautiful, very nice. Beautiful. Special picture. Huh? Prataparudra. Ah, so Lord Indradev. Yes. So this is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Puri, Jagannath Puri. So he is described here as Brihaspati, and he originally took his birth in Vidyanaga, where we are now, and then he relocated to Jagannath Puri later on. And
And there and there's Gorgadada also, isn't it? It's a small hut with Gorgadada. It says Sarvabhauma.
in Vidyanaga,
Isn't it? It's a small hut near Champahati. Yeah, very small.
Very small.
what's
Hut and
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Oh,
very
his
small.
house, his
His
place.
place.
There's a beautiful, his deities of Gornitai.
Yeah,
There's
Gornitai.
Gornitai are there. Most beautiful Takoji, just outside the gate. Yes, yes, very, very beautiful Takoji. Always I see that Takoji. That's Gornitai though. That's Gornitai. Very simply worshipped, but so effulgently beautiful. So these deities were there, and that Sarvabhauma was worshipping these deities previously. So Yogamaya perhaps covered his vision when he had direct darshan initially of who was Mahaprabhu. Sometimes you might worship the um, divine form, but when you actually see him alive, you don't. Your faith has to be strengthened to believe that this is actually that personality. You understand?
Gopinath Acharya also tried.
Yes, and Gopinath Acharya, who's a great devotee of the Lord, then he's the nephew, I think, or of
Brother-in-law.
brother-in-law. He's the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he's always trying to preach to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya about the real identity of Mahaprabhu. And initially, he doesn't believe what he's saying like that, but
Yes.
eventually,
He
he
argues that the Lord is Three Yuga, so there is no chance of him
yes,
manifesting in Kali Yuga.
yes, Brihaspati really knows the Shastra backwards, so he's like that. So then, um, thus Sarvabhauma went to Nilchala and became powerful in knowledge of Mayavad philosophy. The Lord enjoyed his pastimes as a young student here by defeating and deriding Sarvabhauma's pupils. His pupils were still there, so Mahaprabhu enjoyed defeating them all in Mayavad. In the guise of a logician, the Lord vanquished everyone. Teachers and students were all defeated in argument by Gauranga, and they would flee away from him. Whoever hears the unprecedented educational pastimes of the Lord in Vidyanaga will become freed from ignorance. So we go to Vidyanaga wanting to become freed from our ignorance of putting our faith in the illusory world. Hearing this, Jiva was filled with bliss and rolled on the ground in ecstatic love here at Vyaspit. He then submitted the following question at the lotus feet of Nityananda. Prabhu, cut down this one doubt. If Sankhya and logic are inauspicious, why do they have a place in the eternal Dharma? So why is Sankhya philosophy allowed in the eternal Dharma? If it's this tarika, this logic is actually inauspicious. And Nityananda embraced Jiva and affectionately said, there is nothing inauspicious in the Lord's holy Dham. Sankhya and logic are not independent or powerful here. That's the point. That's the answer. They're here, but they're not independent. They are dependent on and therefore serve bhakti, just like the two sons of Bhakti Devi, Gyan and Vairagya. We hear the pastime. What's that? Uh, um,
They become old.
the the Srimad Bhagavatam Mahatmya describes how Bhakti Devi is there in Vrindavan with her two sons, Gyan and Vairagya, but they've actually fainted. They can't move. It's a long story there. But they don't have any influence in that realm, Gyan or Vairagya. They can't. So um, it's saying they are dependent on and therefore serve bhakti. But due to impious activities, wicked men turn everything backwards. Bhakti, devotion, is the goddess here, and all others are her servants. They only serve to reveal bhakti. The residence of ninefold bhakti is Navadvip. Here, karma and gyan serve bhakti. The scriptures award evil intelligence to materialistic persons, but the same scriptures award attachment for Krishna to the pure devotees. And it's described that Prodamaya is the servant of Gauranga and presiding deity here, Prodamaya. We talked about her yesterday. She stays here through all the yugas and serves Gauranga. In the form of Mahamaya, she binds and gives various miseries to that person who by his sinful activities has come to envy Vaishnavas. In the form of actual knowledge, Prodamaya dissolves all sin and karma. But if one has offended a Vaishnava, she keeps him away and gives him all the troubles of karma. Such rogues may study to attain knowledge, but here in Nadia, but they never attain the treasure of prem at Krishna's feet. They attain only ignorance in the guise of knowledge, so they are never able to see the opulences of Nadia. So all these personalities resided here, still reside there in their eternal forms in Vidyanaga. When we go to Vidyanaga, we're aware of all these different personalities that are listed, Lord Brahma even, the Kumaras, etc., all these different personalities, they take shelter of Vidyanaga. So today we have that darshan in Vidyanaga, very splendid darshan. Yes, all these personalities. So now we take our parikrama out again into the country road, and just a short way, maybe it's some 2 kilometers or a kilometer, we come to Radhakund, and we come to the white steps of the new gut. And I was mentioning the other day how Radhakund, the residents today of Radhakund, have no idea that it is Radhakund, even though the parikrama yatris, they tell them this is Radhakund, but what difference does it make to them? They're not purified sufficiently to appreciate the magnanimity of that place. But if you look at that place from the gut, you'll see just beside the two huge lakes, which is Radhakund and Shamakund, um, there's another gut, and it looks as if this must be Lalitakund, and next to it is another gut also that could be Vishakakund. All these guts are there decorating the kund, just as in Radhakund itself, all the different sakis have all their places around. So I want to read from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's his Gita Mala. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is describing Radhakund, but first we should just substantiate the the glories, the opulences that are described in the Upadeshamrita. It's described. Take this. You can chant this first verse at the top. This is from the Upadeshamrita.
कृष्णोऽस्यच्च प्रणयवसति प्रेष्याभिपिरादः कुण्डं चास्य मुनिभिरभितस्ताग्र एव व्याद्याहि यत्प्रेष्टेरपि अलम् असुलभं किं पुनर्भक्तिभाजं तत् प्रेमदं सकृद् अपि सरा स्नातुर् आविष्करोति.
Thank you. So this is the 11th verse of Upadeshamrita. We know in the progression in Upadeshamrita, we start off with Vacho Vegam, Manasakrota Vegam, etc. We start off with the regulations of how to perform bhakti, how to control the senses, and then we discuss how to associate with devotees, and then we come to the 8th verse, Tannama Rupa Charitadi, which is showing how to do bhajan, and then the last, what's that, 9, 10, and 11 verses, they describe the actual goal and the object of Rupa Goswami's giving this Upadeshamrita, and this is the final conclusion and the translation of this last verse of Upadeshamrita. All after thorough deliberation on the matter, the sages have unanimously declared in the Padma Purana that just as amongst all the gopis, Srimati Radhika is the foremost object of Sri worship, of Sri Krishna's great love. In precisely the same way, this pond of hers is also the topmost object of his love. Upon one who simply bathes in its waters just once with great devotion, Sri Radhakund bestows that rare treasure of Gopi Prem, which is so immensely difficult to attain, even for such dear devotees of Bhagavan as Narad, what to speak of ordinary sadhaks. So understand the height and speciality of this Radhakund. And somehow we've come here today on our parikrama with the mercy of Sachinandan Gaurahari. This Radhakund, you can close these doors. This Radhakund is in um, Goradam, is in Nadia, is in Ritudweep, and the mercy of Mahaprabhu is flowing here to give us the adhikar to understand something of Radhakund's glories. So this is what we've come here today to appreciate. And this little booklet is about the Radhakund Parikrama in Vrindavan, all the different temples and so on that are all dotting around. So I can post this booklet in PDF form onto our WhatsApp thread, and you can follow the Radhakund Parikrama through right around. We won't read this today because this is Navadvipa Parikrama. So in Navadvip, it's a different darshan. It's a different um, appreciation because there's no temples here. There's only the two huge lakes that are present here, and it's immensely beautiful. immensely powerful, and we should. It's very different, and hopefully in the future, this Radhakund will be populated with Vaishnavas and temples and many bells ringing and so on, like in Radhakund, and the whole atmosphere of Radhakund in Vrindavan will be transported to become the atmosphere of Radhakund here, with the extra speciality of Mahaprabhu's mercy. So when we go today, we can imagine at least Radha and Krishna's daily Madhyana Lila taking place here in Radhakund. Every day, we understand that 5 hours of the day, Krishna and Radhika are here separate to any elders. So their meeting is fully assured. There's no elderly members can come in Yogamaya in the form of Vrindadevi. She arranges that no one, no outsider, no intruder can enter into Radhakund. And originally there were 16 kunds, and 8 were given to the Astasakis, and 8 were given to the Priyanam Sakas. But the Priyanam Sakas, they all gave their kunds back to Radhika's Sakis. So all of the Sakis are looking after their kunds. So there's a very beautiful description in the Gita Mala by none other than Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is describing these pastimes. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes the pastimes on every level, in every way. He describes the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Arka Marichi Mala. This is described, all of Srimad Bhagavatam, the verses, and that there's no stone of tattva or siddhanta that Bhaktivinoda Thakur hasn't described. At the same time, he's describing Radhakund. So what a monumental personality. So I'm reading from this very beautiful book, which was The Sweet Glories of Radhakund. Originally, his name was Mahanidhi Swami, but he's collected all these writings for us to relish today. Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda gives this description of Gita Mala. In Gita Mala, the banks of Sri Radhakund are made of billions of conscious, ecstatic, desire fulfilling touchstones. A touchstone will reveal anything, will manifest anything our desire has. There are hundreds and hundreds of beautiful transcendental gardens and groves surrounding the lake. All the trees and creepers in these gardens are made of coral and rubies, and the fruits they produce are pearls and diamonds. Indeed, their branches are bending down to the ground due to the weight of so many lovely gemstone fruits. So we understand that every day at around about 11:40, Krishna, and sometimes accompanied by Madhu Mangal, they tell the cowherd boys, "Oh, we're just going to check on the beauty of this forest. You wait, we'll be back in a moment." Then the two of them disappear behind a tree, and then 5 hours later, they step out from behind that tree as if it's only been a moment. And all the suckers are just, "Oh, you were so quick, Krishna." But actually, he was away for 5 hours. This is how Yogamaya Purnamasi, she arranges Krishna's pastimes, so no one has any anxiety whatsoever. It's all completely covered by Purnamasi Devi. And then Krishna, first of all, he approaches Radhakund. He comes to where? He comes to Kusum Sarovar. Then there's beautiful joking uh, pastimes there. So remember that the youthful couple are very shy at this initial meeting. They have not broken through that shyness because their natural affection and attraction for each other is so extraordinary that it bewilders the young couple. Krishna and Radha are bewildered by their immense attraction to each other, and they become very shy of these feelings that are so powerful, bounding in their hearts of attraction to each other, that they are shy to just. So they have many joking pastimes here. Krishna accuses the gopis of picking his flowers, that he's working for Kamadev, the king of the forest. And who do they think they are? Picking his flowers. He must bind them all and take them to the king. And they say, who do you think you are? You just come here, just break all the trees and branches with your cows. What trees have you planted? What flowers have you planted? And they have beautiful exchanges like this to soften and break and familiarize the whole atmosphere with each other. So after this joking, then gradually, they move to Radhakund. And then it's described that all the playful pastimes are all considered Raslila, the bathing pastimes in Radhakund itself, and the pastimes of taking a picnic, and the pastimes of playing dice, and the pastime of stealing Krishna's flute, and the pastimes of drinking honey mead. All these pastimes are eternally going on in Radhakund. Every single day, these pastimes are going on with fresher and fresher sweetness. So this is remarkable to consider. These are the Astakaliya pastimes. These are the eternal pastimes. There are many Naimitic pastimes that we hear about in Braj, but these are the eternal pastimes that are going on eternally. So after the Pratalila, the Pratalila is just prior to this, when Krishna is with the Sakas, etc. Then this Madhyana Lila. We should all try to capture these 8 yamas of the day, this Nishant Lila, the Pratal Lila, then the Purbana Lila, then the Madhyana Lila, then the Apuvarna Lila, then the Shyam Lila, the Pradosh Lila, and the Ratri Lila. These are the 8. Did I say all 8?
Yeah.
These are the 8 Astakalya Leelas. So this Madhyana Leela is 5 hours in length. And the Ratri Leela at nighttime, that is also 5 hours in length. And then the Shanta Leela is about 2 hours in length. So that makes 12 hours. So those are the meeting pastimes with no senior, no elderly people around, when Krishna and Radha can be intimately connected. But we'll come back to this description because it's describing very beautifully what we're seeing in front of us in the spiritual realm. This is in the spiritual realm, which is what is actually manifest here. It says the preceding and following passages give descriptions of Radhakund in the spiritual world. So this is the eternal realm. By the power of pure devotion, one can also see all the sweet transcendental beauty of Radhakund right here as well. The following descriptions are based on Sri Govinda Lilamrita and Sri Krishna Bhavanamrita, written by Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj and Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, respectively. So these two personalities have been recipients. Krishnadas Kaviraj was receiving the um, descriptions from Raghunath Das, who received all these descriptions from Swarup Damodar directly. And then Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his own transcendental meditation, he's witnessing and seeing. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is Vinod Manjari. So he's seeing all these pastimes directly, and he's recording them in his beautiful. Both of these books are going through the eightfold pastimes of the day. So he's going to describe the Madhyana pastimes here. Radhakund is breathtaking to behold. The banks of Radhakund are lined with divine trees of Kadamba, Champak, Siras, Ketaki, and fragrant vines of Jati, Yut, Lavanga, and Madhavis. Many varieties of flowers, color, and scent the scene. Male and female parrots sit in the trees singing sweet songs about Radha Madhav. The honeybees hum a constant om, and the cuckoos sing the fifth note, which lovers vibrate in union. I don't know about that. What is that? The fifth note that lovers vibrate in union. Something very esoteric. Anyway, I'll read it again. The honeybees hum a constant om, and the cuckoos sing the fifth note, which lovers vibrate in union. On all 4 sides of Radhakund are jeweled staircases leading down to jeweled bathing ghats, which beautify the water's edge. On either side of the ghats are pairs of wonderfully decorated swings hanging from flower-laden trees of mango, kadamba, bakula, and champak. Above the jewel inlaid stairways which lead down to the water are jeweled platforms flanking gem-studded cottages. A jeweled cottage bridge connects Radhakund with Shamakund at the Sangam, the meeting place of the two kunds, which some call the Radhakund Yogpit. The meeting place of Radhakund and Shamakund in the center is a beautiful jeweled staircase connecting the two. Radhakund has many shade trees which are entwined with flowering creepers. These flowering creepers have limitless clusters of multicolored flowers that soothe all the senses. When the wind blows, the nectarian pollen from those flowers falls to the ground in perfumed droplets. Lining all sides of Radhakund are kalpavriksha trees, perpetually bowing down from the weight of their deliciously sweet fruits and intoxicatingly fragrant flowers. If we hear these pastimes with deep faith, and then when we visit Radhakund in Vrindavan, and now we're here at Radhakund in um, Goradam, we can begin to remember the actual beauty of this place and remember how splendid Vrindadevi has created this atmosphere for the pleasure of the divine couple each day. And because they come every single day, then everything is always in flux and changing. So it's always fresh, ever fresh, all of these wonderful attractions in Radhakund. The Acharyas explain that Vrindavan's trees and creepers are liberated souls who can liberate others. Intelligent devotees therefore take shelter of the dust, trees, and creepers of Vrindavan, praying for their mercy. At the base of the trees are jewel inlaid platforms which have unique designs. No two are alike. Some are round, square, hexagonal, or octagonal. Some platforms are only knee high, and others stretch up to the navel, chest, and neck. Radha Madhav and the gopis always enjoy sitting on them because these platforms are warm in winter and cool in summer. So there's so many beautiful descriptions here of the Kund, and then there are descriptions of the Astasakis Kunds around. I touched on that yesterday, how some of the Kunds have a particular color that is predominant in each of the Kunds. In we'll see what this, but this is not a description of that actually, but it's saying something about the different Kunds that surround the principal Kund of Radhakund. So in Lalita Saki's Kunj, which is described like lightning is in the north. You know, when you're in Radhakund in Vrindavan and you look north, that is Lalita Kund. So Lalita's entire Kunj is shaped like one large lotus flower, and the joy of all seasons can be experienced here. It is the largest and most dear to Radha and Krishna because it always pleases them with ever expanding delight. There are platforms made of gold, crystal, sapphires, and lapis lazuli. In the center of a courtyard, there is a golden temple named Ananga Rangambuja, which is shaped like 1,000-petal lotus. This kunja expands and contracts in size according to Radha and Madhav's desires. Its 8 sub-kunjas resemble an 8-petaled lotus flower. Vasant Kunj, one of the sub-kunjas, brings the pleasure of spring with its beautiful red, white, blue, yellow, and green flowers, and its humming bees and sweet-sounding cuckoos. So all these beautiful descriptions are there for the sadhak to immerse his consciousness in about the splendid pastimes that Radha and Krishna perform daily here in Radhakund. So we can remember these pastimes of great happiness. And actually, in just passing that Jaiva Dhamma, you can see the green Jaiva Dhamma there. We'll see in Jaiva Dhamma in chapter 38. There's a beautiful description here of Radhakund also. in the Astakali Lila. So Vijay is asking for a description of Madhyana Lila, the midday pastimes. And now Vrinda Devi is explaining these midday pastimes from Jaivadama. So we've had the Gita Mala from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This is from Jaivadama now. After watching Sri Krishna leave for the forest, his most beloved consort, Srimati Radhika, returns to her home. Then, on the pretext of performing Surya Puja or collecting flowers, she tricks her elders in order to have Sangha with her Priyatama, Sham. Accompanied by her Sakis, she goes to the same forest to meet him. Thus, after much endeavor, Radha and Krishna meet again and blissfully enact various sportive Paramananda Leela together in the forest. At times, Radha and Krishna sit on a swing and are swung by their Sakis. Sometimes, while feeling slightly drowsy, Sri Hari's Venu slips from his fingers and is stolen by his Priya Sri Radha. Despite restlessly searching on all sides for it, she finally becomes disappointed and gives up. He finally becomes disappointed and gives up hope. At that point, the beloved gopis offer the Venu back into his lotus hands. Laughing and making witty remarks, at that time Krishna looks splendid as he delights the gopis by teasing them, joking, and countering their impudent remarks. Sometimes Srimati Radhika and Sri Krishna enter a particular section of the forest that is attended to by the spring season personified. There, there are silver syringes filled with colored water mixed with fragrant substances such as kumkum and chandan to drench each other, and at other times they smear the paste of chandan, kumkum, and so on over each other's limbs. In the beauty and splendor of that forest, which is served on all sides by soothing spring breezes, the Sakis also join in their transcendental sports by assisting them to bathe one another with that fragrant water. So we get an idea, we get a window into the pastimes. All these descriptions are achintya, they're all inconceivable. But the sadhak must hear these descriptions. He must have this faith that this is where the ultimate loving pastimes are performed. There are three principal yog pits in the day. The first is Gupta Kund, and the second is Radhakund, and the third is Sevakunj. So this yog pit is the meeting place, the famous meeting place of Radha and Krishna. So this is the mood that when we come to this place of Radhakund, we can remember these sweet descriptions of the apricot Radhakund and meditate on that while we're reflecting on the beauty. This Radhakund here in Ritudvip is so immensely beautiful because coming from the crowded parikrama parties and so on, if you come alone to Radhakund, it's just extraordinary because there are no crowds here, and it's very very peaceful, and so many birds and wildlife are there singing, and it's an extraordinarily beautiful place for the consciousness of the sadhak who's been performing energetically this Navadvipa parikrama. It's a very peaceful place to come and rest and appreciate the beauty of Navadvip. Um, they sit beneath a tree on a divine throne and enjoy drinking nectarian honey wine, madhu. Becoming intoxicated by that madhu, they close their eyes in sleep for some time. Holding each other's hands, Radhesham become pierced by the arrows of Kamadev, and desiring to enjoy with one another, their lotus feet stumble from the path and they enter the kunj. Thereafter, Srimati Radhika and Shamsundra freely consort with each other in the kunj. Like the king of elephants and his mate, the Sakis, who are also intoxicated by Madhu, proceed drowsily. So these beautiful descriptions are all there within the Jaiva Dharma. So there's nothing missing from this Jaiva Dharma as we've described many times. So this is the Astakali Lila in the 38th chapter, and we can read and pick up these beautiful descriptions of Radhakund. So I think I might stop now from our descriptions, These descriptions are endless. We can just endlessly describe the glories and beauty and intoxicatingly sweet moods of Radhakund. The highest, this Unnata Ujjvala Ras, is experienced in Radhakund. This is the highest meeting in existence, is Radhakund. And Rupa Goswami in particular, he's written extensively, and Raghunath Das Goswami in his Vilap Kusmanjali has written extensively about these pastimes. And as we said yesterday, I think it was, that we should appreciate that this Ras Leela is the crest jewel of all of Krishna's pastimes. It's the pinnacle of Krishna's pastimes. We shouldn't neglect it. We shouldn't be shy to bring it out and discuss these beautiful pastimes, because they're there for the sadhaks to relish. If we're not going in that direction with our sadhana, then where are we going? If we're not going towards bhav bhakti, then what is the purpose of our sadhan bhakti? If it's just sadhan bhakti without the focus of bhav bhakti, then Srila Rupa Goswami has described was that Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Lukhata Krit Lakuta Krit Sandra Ananda Visheshatma Sri Krishna Akashani Chasa. These three stages of sadhan bhakti. So this goal of bhav bhakti, and this is described in the 22nd chapter of Jayavadama. So all of these truths, these sadhaks should be churning as he's going around on his parikrama. He should know where all these truths are accessible and not neglect our study, etc., to clear the ignorance. We've just come from Vidyanaga. So much ignorance was cleared by our being in Vidyanaga, just there, sufficiently to hear some of the pastimes now in Radhakund. So we'll stop today. So Radhakund ki jai, Vidyanaga ki jai, Champahati ki jai, Samudra ki jai, Ritudvip ki jai, Koladvip ki jai. Previously we were in Koladvip. So Koladvip today and Ritudvip today. Tomorrow is Janudvip and Modrumdvip. And then we've circumambulated the whole of Mayapur Dham, the whole circumference of Sri Goramandal, the 9 islands. So just 2 more islands tomorrow to appreciate and acknowledge. So we'll sing a kirtan. You didn't bring your harmonium with you. I got a harmonium in the next room, but it's I don't know how quickly I can get it. Then you have to figure out. I'll leave it, huh?
Very short.
Do you sing? Do you want to sing a bhajan for us?
Any particular one?
I was asking that lady behind.
No. You want to sing?
No?
It's good on the
I'll just sing a
harmony.
kirtan then.
Oh, go.
Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bo. Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bo. Jai Jai Radha Oh Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bo. 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 Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Bol, Hari 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 Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Hari Bol, 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 Hari Bol. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. Oh, Jaya Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gaura Hari. Gaura He, 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 Gaura He. Oh, Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Vishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe. Oh, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Sri Samudra Gar ki jai, Champahata ki jai, Vidyanaga ki jai, Sri Radhakund Shamakund ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhaveva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha.